Ciao a tutti, mi chiamo Anna Francesca. Questa è la mia storia. Hi, my name is Arna. This is my story. Batista and Barbara Intra adopted me. It was important to my birth mother and to Batista, my father, that I was Catholic. I was the second child, and that completed their family.
Anna was adopted into the Intra family as the youngest child, joining her older brother Giovanni. Her adoptive father Batista came from an Italian family, and that heritage was part of Anna's early childhood. For the first few years of her life, the family were based here in Auckland, the city where I'm meeting her today. And when Anna was 5, they relocated to the small town of Taurangi, where she spent part of her childhood.
So growing up, I have some interesting memories. I remember opening a Christmas present from my father. It was a music box. I still have that music box. I guess my childhood was marred by the death of my father when I was 6, and that has coloured a lot of my childhood and memories. I don't have that many memories of it. So, yeah, we probably would have spoken Italian. We would have had close ties to the Italian community, but that was all severed when Papa died. Mum wasn't well after Papa died. She had 2 serious bouts of cancer, and if I reflect on that, she probably had quite a dose of unresolved grief, having to bring up Giovanni and I. So she really shut down, and she shut down the Italian part. It just wasn't spoken about.
With the death of her father, the family later moved back to where Anna was born, in Auckland. For that understanding of her own adoption, it was never something that was kept quiet.
I have always known that I'm adopted. I can't remember a time when I didn't know. As a child, being adopted didn't actually mean anything to me. It just was. It was just something of my everyday life. You don't know the difference. My parents were very open about adoption. I can't remember how they framed it to us. I did feel different growing up, and you don't know why, but it is just kind of normal. And reflecting now, it's because probably you are different. You are not the same as your parents, because the genetic makeup isn't there being reflected back at you. The things you think about, the things you do are kind of different. But it never worried me as a child. It just was, again.
Although adoption was never a secret in Anna's family, access to her original birth records were. For years, information about her birth mother remained closed.
It wasn't until the 1985 change in adoption rules that I kind of started thinking more about finding her.
In 1985, a new law in New Zealand allowed adopted people to access their original birth records for the first time. For Anna, it meant she could finally begin learning more about her birth mother, Eugenie. Slowly, details began to emerge. First, a surname, and eventually a phone number.
I had a phone number and I rang it. This person answered. I said, "Is Eugenie there?" This voice said, "No, she's not. Who is this?" And, on the spot you go, "Oh, I think she's my birth mother." And she goes, "She's my daughter." And I went, "Well, that makes you my grandmother."
After that phone call, Anna then made plans to meet her grandmother for the first time.
I didn't have a car, so I cycled all the way to Aoraki. Granny lived in one of those 3-storey star flats. I remember walking up the stairs and knocked on this door, and this diminutive little lady opened the door, and it was the first time I'd seen my face reflected back at me, and it was pretty special. We sat down and we had a cup of tea. She started telling me details about my birth mother. My birth mother was in Sydney. She left in 1973. She explained a little bit about the history, but I was just like, oh my God, I have met my family, and that was really exciting. Granny had a quirk about telephones, and she wouldn't pick up a phone to ring people. So she waited for Eugenie to ring her to say, "Hey, by the way, the daughter you had has turned up.
Meeting her grandmother brought answers for Anna, but it also raised new questions. It took time before she could speak directly with her birth mother, and there were still questions about her birth father. It wasn't until a later visit with her grandmother, where she met another relative, that some of those answers began to take shape.
I went round one day and there was a lady there who said, "Oh, you're Eugenie's daughter," and it turned out to be Granny's sister. And this was Auntie Noreen. She gave me details about my birth father that Granny wouldn't... It's not that Granny wouldn't hand over. She said, "Look, this is not my story to tell. It's Eugenie's story to tell you who your birth father is." But Noreen said, "No, I will tell you. His name is David and he was an engineering student." I then decided to go through the alumni rolls and came up with a name. I went through a directory operator service and found a phone number and then called through. I said I was after a David, and it turns out the person who answered was a David, but it happened to be my birth father's son. So he then ended up putting my birth father on the phone, and I sort of said, is this a good time to talk? I believe I'm the daughter you had a number of years ago. He did sort of say, "Yes, I believe you might be my daughter." We swapped addresses and we started swapping a couple of letters. So we did meet, and that was pretty cool. It was kind of like a box tick exercise when I look back on it now. We have lost touch. We did lose touch. I suspect it was all a bit too hard for him.
Anna was able to meet her birth father. She later met her birth mother twice during visits from Australia, but her life there remained largely separate from Anna's, and as far as Anna knew, she was still living there in Sydney.
We didn't click and we didn't really connect or resonate, but I understand how difficult that must be. She must have signed her life away when I was born, and she was told she'd never see me again. And here I was 18, 19 years later, turning up. That must have stirred up some memories for her.
While her connections with her birth parents had been difficult, there was one person who remained a constant in Anna's life, her grandmother. Through her, Anna met another member of her birth family, her cousin Tony.
I met Tony when Granny was in hospital in 2013. We've kept in contact. When Granny passed away 3 years ago, Tony was there, and we've definitely made a real connection now, and I've got to say, it is again pretty special. It's really neat to have that connection.
I felt an immediate affinity because she conducted herself so well. I wanted to help Arna to find her birth mother. So when I was in Sydney this year, I went and knocked on a door at an address that I knew, but I was unsuccessful in finding out where her birth mother was.
The curiosity I have about my birth mother, she made decisions which vastly impacted on my life, and I understand those decisions. For me though, finding if she's dead or alive now is my part. I'm reclaiming some of that power. I don't need to have a relationship with her. I don't need to make anything right. So for me, it's a curiosity to just know if she's dead or alive, and that's it.
Even though Anna wasn't searching for a relationship with her birth mother, the need to understand where she came from hadn't gone away. While documenting her story, we began to look at what she had already built, piece by piece, through her family tree. I can see here that you've started building a bit of a family tree to help connect these links. Why is this important to you?
Well, it's a visual representation of who I am, which I think is really important. When you grow up not having that information, it's good to be able to find things out and have it stored in a place that you can look at and refer to.
So since meeting Granny, how has she influenced and helped you connect the pieces of your biological side?
Oh, she's the linchpin. Definitely, without meeting Granny, I would not be as zen about being adopted. She was the font of information. She was the glue that kind of told me who I was, kept it together for me, and was always there. By the time I started this, I knew who my birth parents were, so I had their names. But of course, with Granny being the first part of it, I knew her, and that was easy to add. And I knew her husband, so that was easy to add.
So you added that, built the layers,
Yes.
and you've started expanding from there.
Yes.
And so you got to thank Granny for that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
That understanding of where you come from is only one part of the story. For Arna, the impact of adoption goes much deeper than that.
The biggest challenges for me is that non-adopted people don't understand the impact of adoption. I've been to a number of therapists for a number of years, and none of them, except for the last lovely lady, ever picked up on the fact that I was adopted. And I find a lot of therapies in New Zealand, people go, oh, just get over it, or put your attention on the feelings and name them, when you can't. We have no words because we were young, and we also have no other self to connect to, and that makes it really challenging.
But even with those challenges, Arna hasn't given up on finding those answers on her birth mother, Eugenie.
I am curious as to what has happened to my birth mum, and we don't know where she is. And one of the last things I want to do, I've identified where I think she lived in Australia, and I'm sending them a letter saying, hey, just wondering if you know what's happened to the person in your street. Because Eugenie wasn't told that her father had died, to me it was important that she knew that her mother had died. So I feel it's important for me to try and find her. And if I don't, well, that's, the way the world goes. But Granny is a linchpin in my life that's made everything good. And I'm doing it for her really too.
Well, I do hope these letters do get to someone that can help you find at least something out for you.
If I do find out, cool. There's a picture of her in there, so they can say, is that what she looked like? Yeah.
Just don't know.
No.
Today, Arna continues her life here in Auckland, working in telecommunications. Outside of work, she spends time crafting and caring for a small group of cats near her home. She also shares her experiences with others, offering support within the adoption community. In telling her story, Arna has found her own way forward, not in having all the answers, but in choosing what comes next.
We need to share within the community that we're not alone in what we feel. We need to understand that what we experience is normal to an abnormal situation. Find your tribe. I think that's really important. To summarise my adoption journey in one sentence, it's been a wild ride, but it's made me who I am today.
Her story continues in her book, Sweet But Not Pretty, written under her birth name, Nicole McAlevey, a phrase from her original adoption document, one that has stayed with her. I just want to say a huge thank you to you, Arna, for sharing your story as part of my An Adoption Story series for 2026. I also want to say a huge thank you to all of you, each and every one of you, all across the world, again, for your ongoing support, your comments, your feedback, everything, because I know that adoption has all sides, and of course it comes with its complexities. But I know how important these stories are, with those sharing their stories in the series, with the timelines, going through them, the journeys, everything, whatever you want to call them. I just know how important this is. I also want to share that one of the stories that I've already shared this year, the story of Daniela, has been selected as an official selection for an upcoming film festival here in New Zealand, a web series film festival under the documentary factual section. And I'm just so proud just seeing this. It's my first time ever getting a stamp or a badge on anything that I've done. So I'm so grateful for that. I'm so just incredibly humbled by all of that, and it really means a lot. And I do repeat myself, it really means the world to me, but it truly does. It truly does. And don't forget that I also have a YouTube membership as well as a Patreon for those who might want to put in a little bit of extra support with my series, because I'm doing all the filming, the editing, the production all by myself, and so every little bit helps. But I just continue, and I really love what I do, so telling these stories are just so vital, as I say. But until next time, I'll see you all again for another story as part of An Adoption Story. Thank you all so much. Take one. Arna's story. Oh wait, what did you say in Italian?
I said, hello everyone, my name is Arna Francesca, this is my story.
Okay. Anna's story, take one. I don't know. Yeah, I'll give it to you. Do it again. And the family roots is strong on your adoptive side with those Italian roots.
Yes, they are.
Sorry, can you talk a little bit? Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to show the screen and stuff. Well, thank you for sharing your story, Anna.
My pleasure. It's been fun.
It's been fun, and I hope... I don't know what to say after that.
It's been fun.
It's been fun.